Obedience is a tool of destruction, but at times it could be a tool of creation. About a year ago, I found myself reaching the depths of hell, basically, and I asked myself a question. The question being, how the fuck did I get here? The answer was quite simple. I followed instructions. It sounds pretty contradictory, but in truth, the reason why you are in the spot that you are right now in life is because you followed direction. Coming into this world, you come into this world as a child, and as a child, you're taught to be a certain way and believe certain things. Not only just to believe them, but to follow them to the letter. There's a couple things that are held over our head, which is the need to be loved, the need to be accepted, the need to belong. And because of these needs being there, we begin to follow instructions. We begin to find ourselves in a place in which we should not be. And if you've clicked on this video, that's because you're in that place right now, questioning, reassuring yourself that I'm trying to change. I'm trying to do the best thing. I just want to be a good person. But the thing is, that is the issue right there, that you're trying to be something that you are not. Hence the antithesis. You are not only all good, you are not all bad. You are something in between. Basically, the point that I'm trying to make is that you need to find the balance between the two. That at times, you need to practice the powers and the strengths of destruction, and other times you practice the powers of creation. The most important step to be able to move forward is you have to destroy what was there before. And you're not going to get anywhere blaming others, pointing fingers, as I did. Taking responsibility for one's own life is the most powerful thing you can do. Because if not, you're always a victim to someone else. And unconsciously, you allow them to put their beliefs inside your mind. But the thing is, you have to understand that there is a way out of this. And that is what I am going to attempt to do through these videos. I'm going to tap into my own experience to try to teach you. As you go along life, you begin to realize that you made certain decisions, choices, which have consequences. And those consequences were unforeseen because you were in a vulnerable state. The state of being a child, and a child is being led by the parent. As children, we're actually taught to not question things and just do as they say, follow the authority figure, and the parent can only give you whatever it is that they have that they receive from their parent. During the days in which we're being raised, we allow others to make the decisions for us. And it's a lot easier because we don't know about life. So we seem to think that everyone has our best interests in mind. Wrong. Not everyone has your best interest in mind. From this point forward, I want you to remember that there's times in which we allow people to consciously and unconsciously sit in the seat of control inside of our mind. Depending on the teachings that were given to you by your parent, whether seen or foreseen, have consequences within themselves. Now, where am I going with this? The whole reason you are in the place that you are in life is because you followed directions to the letter. As a child, you're taught to never disobey. And if you disobey, there are consequences. Or some sort of punishment where you get something taken away and you're taught to. The only way that you receive whatever you receive is to be obedient. Is what many households are taught, which is what I was taught. But then comes a time in which you continue to carry on those lessons with you in life, and then you find out that it paid to be disobedient at times. Why? Because whenever you're around teachers, whenever you're around people of authority, certain beliefs, ideologies are placed inside the mind that you don't know what consequences these ideas have. Nevertheless, they play out in your life, all because you chose to be obedient. Now, I want you to question that for a second and see the disadvantage here being that if you put a person in the seat of authority, that means that you will accept any belief, idea, any opinion that they might have, you will just accept it as it being fact. So that's why you have to put yourself in the seat of authority, so that you can be the one that decides which beliefs, ideas, anything else that you want to follow is going to be dictated by you, not by things that other people want you to accept. There were times in which my parents would tell me, you should go to church, you should believe in God in this way. And I was just following the instructions and doing whatever they said, but I didn't really realize that it was me making the decision all along. They presented an idea and I did it. Somewhere unconsciously, something in there was making the decision and choices for me. So the whole point of this exercise and the exercising going forward is for you to first seat yourself in the seat of authority, and kick off whoever's there, sit there, and forever make the changes to your life. Whenever a person is trying to put these ideas into my mind or whatever it comes out in a conversation, if any sort of limitation is trying to come into my mind, I question it by stating that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard. It might sound pretty dumb, it might sound simple, but if you apply it, maybe using your own words onto whatever it is that someone says, then you have now put yourself in the position of a person who is judging. And again, this is something that society teaches us is bad. It's bad to judge. It's bad to put yourself in the seat of judgment or past judgment. But I am telling you that if you apply this thing to you, you will be a lot better off. In life, we are taught to be good people. We are taught to follow the crowd, do whatever everyone else is doing. And to do the opposite is to be ostracized, with the exception of the very few that stand out for being unique. So now is the time for you to go back inside your mind and begin to understand that the whole reason you are here is because you follow directions. My whole goal with this channel is to be able to channel in a way the things that I've gone through and how I've been able to reach the other end. And the very first lesson that I want to imply to you, and the very first seed that I want to plant inside your mind, is that being disobedient is useful at times. There are times in which we need to be obedient and follow the letter, to fit in or to gain something, and that might garner us some attention, some help, whatever you may need. But there comes a point in which you need to disobey. There was a time in which I had a babysitter, and this babysitter had certain things happen to her. She decided to pull out a knife and make me do things in which I was not very comfortable with. My parents had taught me up to that point to always be obedient to the babysitter. Always be obedient to people who are older than you. And in that moment, I did not know that I could be disobedient. I held that in for a long time, blaming others instead of blaming myself, because the only person who had the responsibility to myself is me. I'm teaching you to basically do the opposite of what you were taught, which is to be disobedient at times. And for a long time, I questioned my parents. I blamed them because why would you leave me with this person? There was other people around and I questioned them. They had no loyalty to me. But the real person who I should have been blaming was myself, because I chose in that moment to follow the instructions, to do what I was told. I always had the choice to be disobedient. I could have said, no, I'm going to call 911. I'm going to tell someone, but I didn't. I didn't know I had the choice. So that is why this is the first seed that I'm going to place inside your mind. So these lessons are going to be split into different things where I talk about the topic. And then at the very end, I'll have like a hypnotic installation to where you can be able to practice these tools with yourself. The whole point of it is to allow them to step off and for you to take place, because you are the one that are in control of your life, your mind, your everything. I want you to first begin to sit down with yourself and tell yourself, where could it have been beneficial for me to be disobedient? Here's another example. I was really into church for a long time, and I only did whatever the church told me to do. So the pastor would say, you're not allowed to play video games because you're going to go to hell, or something along those lines. And I was obedient and didn't do it. He said we had to go door-to-door preaching all day, that we had to go days without eating, fasting, because we needed to basically earn our way into heaven. Here's another place where you can be disobedient. You can just say no. There is no real purpose to be sacrificing yourself for what? Someone else's gain. You lose. It's best for you to begin to look inside so that you can see that you've always had the choice all along. That you could always have been the person who you really are inside. But because of fear, because of the need to be accepted, because of the need to be loved, you held that back. But now is the time for you to go inside that shadow and pull all that stuff out and integrate it into yourself. If not, these things will manifest themselves in a negative way. And I'm sure that you can point to examples in your life where you could see that this is true. If you're tired of being a fucking victim, if you're tired of being a person who has so many chains attached to them that they cannot go forward, now is the time for you to be disobedient. Because the truth is, you can live life any way you want. But remember that there are always consequences. So it's best not to be foolish and to exercise the power that you've been given. Until next time. want you to take a deep breath in, out, in, out, as you begin to focus on your breath. You can allow yourself to go into a state of complete and utter tranquility. In a moment, not now, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to open up your eyes, and you'll come all the way out of this state, and then you'll close your eyes and go all the way down, deeper into relaxation, into comfort, into tranquility. So open your eyes all the way up, close them all the way down. Open your eyes all the way up, close your eyes all the way down, down, down. As you begin to anchor your conscious mind on the breath, you could begin to imagine the numbers 10 to 1, counting down 10, 9, 8. And I want you to imagine as if there's a switch right there where you switch it and the numbers just disappear. And your mind is completely calm, tranquil, relaxed. I want you to begin to notice that you are either conscious or unconsciously in charge of the breathing. If you focus on it, if you stop focusing on it, just like that breath is in your control or out of control, so is taking responsibility and understanding and knowing that there are times in which you can be disobedient. When a person begins to give you a limiting belief, I want you to repeat the phrase, "That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard." So let's say you're on your weight loss journey and you're telling your goals to someone and they say,
"I don't think you can do it."
"Man, that's the stupidest shit I've ever heard." Rejecting that belief, that ideology that that person has is not yours. Because you could begin to go inside and begin to notice, where is the seat of authority in your mind? Who is seated in that seat? Is it this other person? Is it another person of authority in your life? So I want you to kindly, politely ask them to get the fuck off of your seat. As you begin to sit down, you didn't notice, but on your pants was crazy glue. This super glue, this glue that just keeps you tied down to that chair. And no matter how hard you try to get up, you are now in the seat of authority. And you can begin to take control of your life. You could even go back to the root cause, floating out of your body, and seeing it play out. But before it even starts, just imagine yourself going back 2 steps, putting yourself in that seat of authority in which you were already in, and now you are even in that moment. And see yourself going forward, always being in the state of authority. So when you're sitting down watching television and someone says, "You should buy my product," they aren't the authority over your life. You are. Do you want it? Does it add to your life? Is it worth it for you? Make that decision starting now and lasting for the rest of your life.
you will be able to be seated in that seat of authority, giving yourself the instructions that you will always be the one responsible for your life. And I want your unconscious mind to come in on this process as well, and allow it to add anything else that you need in order for you to now, then and ever, forever be the authority, starting now and lasting for the rest of your life, meaning make it permanent. There was once a quote in a movie that says, with great power comes great responsibility. Well, I'm going to flip it and tell you that with great responsibility comes great power. And now that you are in the seat of authority, now that you are taking responsibility for your life, you can begin to take control of your life, starting now and lasting forever. Because if you begin to look back, every decision that you've made was really because you wanted to. So when your parents told you, clean this room, if not, there's going to be this consequence, you're the one that decided to clean it because you could have disobeyed. So it wasn't them forcing you to do something. It was that you were ready to make that change now. And allow yourself to notice where that change has happened. I want you to imagine as if there's a lock, or you can imagine car keys locking, beep beep, like your car when you're locking it. Because that change has been locked in place, hasn't it? And as you begin to start to float down back into the present moment, go back into your body and allow yourself to wake up from this state as you come out all the way up, taking all these changes with you.